Welcome to Sweethearts or Rivals. I'm Charla.
I'm Justin.
Today we're going to be doing a waxing philosophical topic.
Yep.
And the topic that we're going to be doing today will be women in gaming.
Yes. Time to go.
Your opinion is important as well.
This is true.
Yes. The reason that I would like to wax philosophically about women in gaming is we recently just filmed a top 5 video on the experiences in our life that shaped our inner gamer.
Yep.
Which caused me to do actually a lot of reflection.
Nice.
Inwardly. And just thinking about gaming in general as a woman, what shaped me as the gamer I am today. That made me bring up some interesting questions that I was thinking about internally as I made the list.
Okay.
And I think it is a very, it's a serious topic. It deserves a lot of respect, for sure. Because I am a woman and I game, I feel that I am qualified to speak on the subject.
Nice.
And as your husband with a wife gamer,
yep,
I also feel that you can have some authority on the subject as well.
Sounds good.
So we're going to do our best.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just, I want to preface the whole video with this is my own personal experiences as a woman in gaming. I can't possibly even conceive to speak as a whole for all of women in gaming.
Yeah, but it's a perspective.
It's my perspective, just Charla.
Yeah.
So, that's it.
Right on.
So, it's a very serious topic, so I did make notes. So, I will be referring to my clipboard.
Okay.
So, the first thing that I thought about was women in gaming, nature versus nurture.
Okay.
And I was thinking about it, of course, like I said, as myself. I was brought up in a home where, of course, a girl, we had dolls. Girls had dolls. But I wasn't brought up in one of those homes where I wasn't allowed to play with boy toys.
Okay.
Like, we had cars and trucks. Now, we didn't have a lot of cars and trucks. But we had things that might be considered boy toys. And being a little girl, like, in the 70s... it's kind of dating me, but it was really, really frowned upon for boys to have dolls, for sure. Like, even if our cousin came over and he played with our dolls, like, that was just weird. Like, there was whispers. There was, even today I find it's not such a big taboo now, but still you will hear some parents say, no, my boy's not playing with a doll.
Yeah.
But there is a turnabout now where it's becoming more accepted, which is good. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, I feel, and I think my parents may have had this opinion, but to like a lesser degree is what I'm going to say. But there's only 3 things kids should not be allowed to play with. Okay. Things that can burn them, things that can cut them, or things that could corrode them. Corrode.
Corrode.
Oh, corrupt is a good one, too. Okay. But, like, no matches, no knives. Yeah. No under-the-counter solvents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So,
anything else?
Stuff that hurts you.
Right.
No.
Anything else under the sun, I think kids could, unless it's a choking hazard, that would be another thing.
So something that could hurt you.
Right.
Yeah.
But as far as dolls versus trucks versus action figures versus a card game or whatever. Yeah. I think kids should be able to play with whatever they want to play with. And I'm pretty sure in my household, to a certain degree, because, it was the 70s. Just take that with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. It was pretty similar to that. Okay. So, I got off a tangent. Nature versus nurture. I think kids generally want to play with all kinds of different stuff. Yeah. But when I was growing up, because there was such a girls play with dolls and boys play with trucks. I think there was some nurture there that might have interfered with our normal progression.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Natural progression to figure out what you wanted to play with?
Right.
Yeah.
What you were individually drawn to.
Gotcha.
There could have been some interference there.
Yeah.
Rather than just letting nature take its course.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
Did I articulate that one okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else you wanted to say on that topic?
So just to clarify, so what you're saying is that if we had grown up maybe in today, like if you were a little girl right now,
right,
the chances of you getting into gaming a little bit earlier might have happened.
Right.
Whereas because it was back then, it took a little while.
I think so.
Even though your parents were more open than what was maybe socially acceptable back then.
Right, and I think that's why I lean more towards the gaming
Gotcha.
than maybe some other ladies would.
Okay, that's cool.
That's what I'm trying to say. I hope it didn't get too muddled.
No.
My brain works a little differently than most people, so, I mean, all of ours do, right? Let's be honest.
Yep.
But sometimes I find it a little hard to express what I'm trying to say.
No, that makes sense.
So, cool.
Yep. Yeah,
Awesome.
that was good.
So I think the other thing also was that I thought about in my teens. So I went from childhood to my teens. Were girls included in gaming? Like, did I feel like I was included in the gaming that went on with my peers?
Okay.
Not necessarily my friends, but my peers.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of what the gaming would have been. Like, when we got together with girlfriends, it was kind of girly. Like,
Gotcha.
You talk about boys and you talk on the phone and you do your hair and you paint your nails. The girly things happened. But when I was a little bit younger, say a tween, like, I was still out building the forts. My girlfriends didn't really want to be involved with that tomboy stuff.
Okay.
But as, like, getting more towards my teens, I found it a really awkward stage, like, because there was gaming going on and I wasn't kind of getting invited. It was more of boys that were doing the gaming.
Yeah.
Which was weird. Like, it wasn't until I met you that I really got invited to do gaming.
Okay.
So I'm thinking back to, say, one particular experience, and I'm talking to a boyfriend of the time, and he's talking about game night, and I said, well, can I come to game night? He's like, well, no, you're a girl. Well, I'm kind of interested in playing games. Like, can I, like, come try it out with the boys? Like, I know I'm a girl, but I'm a person, too, that is interested in, you know, experiencing your hobby with you together. And he's like, well, no, you're a girl. It's boys' night, and we play games. Like, girls can't go to games. You know, it's kind of weird. But then once I met you and we were more friends, like, you included the girls in your groups.
Yeah.
Which was really cool to me, like, because I was interested to have that experience. But because I was refused before, I don't know if it, like, my attitude was curious.
Okay.
But they were kind of like, well, no, you're a girl. You don't like that. You're not in my brain. How do you know what I like? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny because including the girls in games when I was interested in you becoming my girlfriend, it was simply a way of, well, yeah, I'm going to include them because if I don't, the only way they're going to get to know me is by seeing how I act if I'm on a date or just hanging out, socializing, which is just me being very awkward. Whereas if you can see me playing a game, that's me.
Yeah. That's a whole nother.
Yeah. But
discussion.
at no point was I like, no, we shouldn't invite them. They're girls. That's just silly.
Yeah. And I wasn't really offended by it. I just thought,
Weird.
oh, that's whatever. Yeah, that was probably my first experience, like, just, it was dismissed. I wasn't used to being dismissed either. I did take kindly to that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Moving on, I think. So the next thing I thought about when I was thinking about experiences that made me a gamer were how people perceive games.
Yes.
I think a lot of people, and I'm not quite sure if it's a higher opinion of women to think this, but games are a waste of time.
Yes. This is a very, very common concept.
Right.
Or viewpoint.
And I did briefly discuss this with my sister because I'm way more of a gamer than my sister. She'll play games on occasion, and I discussed it with her, and she said, well, really, I feel like if I'm taking the time to play a game, I'm not being productive.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you take the time to do like crafts and stuff. She said, well, that's being productive because in the end, I end up with something tangible that I've created.
Yeah.
And to her, that's different.
Yeah.
But to me, it's the same. If I take my time to do a hobby that I love, whether it's gaming or crafting, and don't get me wrong, I craft. Like, I make a lot of stuff, like the game bags.
Yep.
Or I just, I'm always got something on the go. But I also feel like gaming is another legitimate way to spend my time.
Yeah. This is something we talk about in teaching quite a bit because in teaching it's very much the same thing. There's a concept or a viewpoint that play is a waste of time, especially when you're very focused on like productivity.
Right.
Whereas you can learn so much more by having it something that you can play in game.
Yeah. And I think maybe it comes from the old-fashioned days, I think. Maybe. From when the women were like the household workers.
Okay.
And they were at home, they had to be busy. They worked in the household all day. And then once their man came home, it's like that. What did you read about?
Oh, yeah. There was a list of... it was a list from a magazine from like the 70s or 60s.
I think it was the 50s.
Maybe,
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the different ways to make your husband feel welcome when he comes home after a long day of work.
Right. And I think this might be still... I mean, it's not definitely in today's society. But I think the way even children of the 70s were raised and they saw their parents acting this way, I think that brings into the whole thing of productivity.
Yeah.
Like, you do your housework all day, and then when your husband gets home, you have to take care of your husband and the kids.
Yeah.
And, the women are the nurturers, and they have to make the home. And I think that's why a lot of women feel like, I said in the previous video, one of my experiences shaping me as a gamer was my grandfather, and my father played a lot of games with me.
Yeah.
My grandmother, I don't remember her ever playing a game with me, like not even Tea Party. Like, she was always busy in the kitchen. She was always busy if she had to mend something. But that, I think, was like from their generation. They always had to have their hands busy with something productive.
Well, yeah, where's my dinner?
Right.
Smack.
Go cook your own supper.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, and like I'm saying, it's not anywhere. I wasn't raised that that's how I had to be.
But that was the environment
that you grew up in.
Yeah.
So I think maybe a lot of women picked it up subconsciously.
Maybe. Yeah.
I obviously didn't, because I don't care if the housework's not done, and he can cook a supper just as well as I can.
I do my own laundry.
Thank goodness, because who wants to do 2 people's worth of laundry? There are people that do like all their whole family's laundry.
Yep.
But I think you've got to share some of the responsibilities for that. That's another topic.
Yeah.
But I mean...
So the idea of the woman stays home and is busy taking care of the house and the kids. The man works all day long, and then when the man comes home, he's done his work. He is going to relax.
And play his games.
And play games while the woman takes care of him.
And still works.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, therefore, games are for guys and not for women because they're too busy.
Right.
Yeah. Doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Which is just silly.
Right.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. In that it doesn't make sense.
Right. That it shouldn't be the way that it's been carried forward.
Yeah.
But I think that's why maybe a lot of women, or I shouldn't even say that because I don't know what a lot of women think. I only know what I think. But in discussing with my sister why she might feel that games are a waste of time and she needs to be productive.
Yeah.
Because she, through osmosis, learned that from like my grandmother and my mother.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
Right. That brings me to another thing I thought about. Is like, why in the world anyway should there be this divide? Like, why can't individuals just have individual interests? Mm-hmm. Why does it have to be girl stuff and boy stuff? It really shouldn't be.
Yep.
And I think that the world is moving more towards that now, for sure.
Yes. And
I also think that us preaching to the masses about it, which I do acknowledge that's kind of what I'm doing right now, but I think you actually just have to start in your own group. You can't try to project this perfect individuals have individual interests onto the world and it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. You got to start small. You got to be concerned with your own people and your own self.
Yeah.
You can't control how the world views this or feels about it. Mm-hmm. But if you all start individually with just your core group of people, that's what's going to change it.
Yep. And then, of course, starting with yourself.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Your own self.
Yeah.
And your own core group around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you change that first, no amount of, discussion on the internet.
Yeah, standing on a soapbox and yelling at people.
Which I understand, again, is what I'm doing. But I feel it's a valid point to start small first.
Yeah. It's interesting. We were talking about, gender roles and what's normal for genders and how it's changing. And there was a story that somebody saw a father and his daughter walking to McDonald's and go up and he said, yeah, and I'll get a cheeseburger Happy Meal. And the person on the other side of the counter said, does she want the boy toy or the girl toy? And the father's response was, what are the two toys? And then she told him, one's a My Little Pony and one is a Transformer. And then the father looked, and which toy would you like?
Yeah.
So not explaining things in terms of gender.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like we were talking about yesterday, because I actually did get a Happy Meal yesterday, and I actually did get a pony. And it was funny because I said to Justin, he's like, well, why do you love ponies so much you don't even watch the show? I'm like, I don't have to watch the show to like a pony. It's cute. It's a pony. I like ponies. But just FYI, the cartoons I grew up watching and loving were Transformers. It was Thundercats.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, the Smurfs isn't really gender, but whatever. Like, I gravitated to those shows to watch. Oh, Ghostbusters was another one. I was obsessed with the Ghostbusters cartoon.
Nice.
Inspector Gadget, Astro Boy. Like, those were what I grew up watching. But when it came to, like, what toys do I want to play with? Yeah, I want a My Little Pony because I can comb its tail and it's cute and it's pink and it's pretty.
Okay.
So, like, it's funny that in my life I have that divide. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to watch all the boy stuff. But I like the girl stuff too. And
nice.
I think that shows that exact thing. Like, does she want a Transformer? Does she want a pony? That's up to her.
Yeah. For me, the whole kind of gender roles was a little bit reversed in that I wasn't interested in sports. I wasn't interested in shooting guns. Growing up, interested in reading books, playing games, especially role-playing games, and not having a lot of interest in this, getting in a car, driving around and being stupid and getting drunk with the guys.
Yeah.
Like, not having an interest in that.
Yeah. Getting drunk is not fun, but I did do my fair share of getting in the car and driving around stupid with girls.
There you go. So I didn't do a lot of that. So for me, like, the gender role is just this silly kind of byproduct of, like, the past.
The past.
That has never really had any value with me whatsoever.
And commercial stuff, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So any kind of gender role that society has had in the past, for me, is just silly. Mm-hmm. Because of my own personal experiences.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't have a lot of games are for guys, not for girls. Mm-hmm. Get upstairs in my kitchen and make me some pie. Like, just that kind of stuff is just silly.
I mean, yeah, I enjoy making pie, but it's because I enjoy eating pie. If I didn't want to eat the pie, I'm not going to make the pie just because he wants a pie.
Yeah. That's right.
Right.
That'd be silly.
Ridiculously silly.
Ridiculously silly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I have a couple more points on the list, so let's see what they are.
Let's go.
So my other point is kind of based a little bit about, there seems to be sometimes, And I haven't experienced this myself, so I really can't talk too much about it. But it's about the hostility that some men push towards women
In gaming? Yeah.
Like they're not supposed... Actually, you know what? I can't even comment. I just know there's hostility sometimes directed at women. It's never really been directed at me, so I can't speak to it.
Yeah.
There's been condescending things spoken to me. Like that first boyfriend that would not let me game with the boys. There was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And then there's some condescending male attitudes at me even at GameNet now. But I don't laugh it off, but I think I can give as good as I get.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to ignore it, and I'm going to stick up for myself. It might be sometimes a little passive-aggressive.
Yeah.
Which maybe isn't the proper way to go about it, but it's... When you're put in that situation, you're the only girl in the table with a bunch of boys, and they're being kind of rude about the female characters, or rude about a situation. Say, for example, I'm going to say this example. This has happened to me, actually, so I can speak to it.
Okay.
Kingsburg, visiting the Queen. You get a lot of bonuses when you visit the Queen. And there was one game that when you visited the Queen, you visited the Queen.
Okay.
That was a little uncomfortable. So it was a little bit like, I'm the only girl. There's 4 guys there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little inappropriate talk. Like, that's the kind of stuff that probably should only go on if you're all the boys. Actually, you know what? That should never go on.
There you go.
Boys should have more respect for women. Men should have more respect for women than that. But I understand it goes on.
Okay.
But that only speaks to the maturity level of that specific person or individual or group of individuals. So I can't really speak to it. But it was uncomfortable.
Okay.
Who's kidding who? I think that's all I have to say about that.
I know that the idea of being condescending towards women in gaming is something that I am concerned with, because I have watched videos where the people on the video are a husband and a wife, or a guy and a girl, and for some reason the guy speaks a lot and the girl puts in like her 2 cents every now and then, and sometimes there seems to be a remark right back that is kind of condescending. So I know, being on YouTube where we make videos together, I am concerned quite a bit of the time, did what I just say come off as condescending?
I don't think that anything you've ever said would come off condescending, because we get a lot of comments on our chemistry together.
It's true.
And chemistry can be like that we get along, even that we respect each other.
Yep.
And I think that comes across in our videos. Because there are times where I'm pretty sassy to you too.
Yes.
And I think that people just understand that we have that kind of relationship where we can be openly sassy with each other.
Yes.
And we're not going to take offense to it, because let's face it, half the fun sometimes of gaming is kind of the trash talk that you can get into.
Yeah.
You know, lighthearted, fun trash talk. There is a way you can, male or female, take that over the line. But as long as you're comfortable gaming together, you know where that line is, and you don't take it there.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I don't think there's any worry about that.
You
being condescending towards me.
But at the same time,
I don't know anything about the other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a public forum and this is going on the internet, I wouldn't want anyone to misconstrue anything I say as being condescending. So, it's not something I like wake up in the middle of the night worried about.
No.
But
I would call you on it if I felt that way.
True.
Because I'm comfortable enough with you.
Yep.
And with you that I would be able to like say, wait a minute, that was really rude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Good. And you'd be like, sorry. Or you could say, yeah, that's mean. Like, and I'd be like, sorry. And we'd get over it and finish the game.
There we go.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's just one last thing that I wanted to say about like the hostility or negativity or whatever, prejudice. You can call it whatever the shoe fits. But, and it can be not only from men towards women, it can be women towards men or men towards men or women towards women or whatever.
Okay.
I think if someone was really blatantly rude or prejudiced or hostile towards me,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would anyway. See, it's never really happened. But I would imagine myself having enough self-confidence that I wouldn't be feeling sad for me. Because I know me. And I know what I'm capable of.
Mm-hmm.
I would be sad for the person acting that way towards me, that the experiences in their life caused them to have to act out that way. Because it's not a problem with me. Like, that person would obviously have issues. And that's why they're acting out.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that I can do to change them. And there's nothing that I can do to fix them. Like, they have to deal with that themselves.
Okay.
And I'm aware of that, so I don't take offense to it. And it does make an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah.
For maybe the women at the table or whatever it's directed at.
Yeah.
But I think if you feed into their issue by trying to change their tantrum or whatever,
yeah,
it's not helping them see anything in a different light.
Yeah.
And realize that it's probably got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
It's how they might have been raised or the experiences in their lives
Mm-hmm.
or the things that they learned when they were young.
Yeah. So you're saying is that it's not that you can't react or you shouldn't react or anything like that, but you certainly shouldn't take it personally and be careful how you react. Because it might not have anything to do with you.
Right.
It might just have everything to do with them.
Right.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean if there's a person who's doing that, even if it is something to do with them, that doesn't mean you have to game with that person either.
No.
But you shouldn't take it as a mission to change them. Like a crusade or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, people generally do want to be fixers, I think. People want to fix the world. But...
sometimes people have to fix themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's great to discuss this and all, because it's a really important issue and there are really important things that need to be discussed about it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said earlier, you have to start with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to start small.
Okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. I think. That's my experience.
Yep. Listening to you talk about women in gaming, just kind of thinking about it and like what's my viewpoint on it, and we've already discussed a little bit, or I have, about where that whole gender role thing has always been kind of invalidated for me, just because of my own experiences and gender roles and all expectations and stuff. But for me, if somebody wants to join my table and play a game, they have to be interested in the game and playing the game, and that's all my interest is in.
Right.
And it can be a guy, a girl, any other kind of gender viewpoint that they have. I'm not really interested. I just, are you interested in playing the game?
Right.
And if they are, perfect.
Yes. And that should be all there really is to say about it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, too, it's like, how can I get my so-and-so to play games with me? And I say so-and-so not as like a weird term. I mean, like, whoever it is.
Yeah.
My sister, my brother, my wife, my husband, my next door neighbor. How can I get them to play games with me? Well, if they're not, that's where you have to look into personal interests.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not interested in games.
Yeah.
Or maybe you haven't found the right game that would interest them.
Yeah.
Like, say, there's lots of games about lots of different stuff, and I'm going to use this as an example. Like a wine-making game.
Mm-hmm.
Am I interested in making wine myself? No. Am I interested in drinking wine myself? No. Am I interested in playing a wine game? Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe my sister, who likes drinking wine, she likes making wine, maybe she would like to try this wine drinking making game.
Yeah.
Maybe I would try that game with her. And I find it interesting that certain themes can bring people to the table.
Yes.
Even though I'm not interested in the wine stuff, I'm interested in playing a game about wine stuff.
Yep.
Now, give me a sports or a political game. I'm not interested in sports or politics.
Yeah.
To the most severe degree that I am not interested in political games or sports-related games.
Yeah.
So if you were looking to get me to play a game with you, you're not going to want to ask me to play that baseball highlights number, whatever it is. I'm not I don't think I'm going to be interested in playing that. Just because of the theme is something in my real life that I don't really have very good experiences with.
Mm-hmm.
For example, baseball. So that's going to turn me off.
Yep.
But, I mean, maybe you've got a quilter in the family that loves quilting, and that's all they want to do. They want to quilt 24/7.
Yeah.
But they're just not a gamer, so even if you try to bring over patchwork, they don't want to game anything at all.
Yeah.
So even though they love quilting, maybe they're not going to want to play patchwork with you.
Maybe.
So anyway, I think it just comes down to, like I said, really at the very beginning. Like, you've got to look at individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to look at their individual interests.
Yes.
And some people are not interested in games.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Yep.
I'm not interested in beekeeping. So I don't have to beekeep. But someone could say, now Charlotte's a nice girl. Why in the world wouldn't she want to have a beehive of her own?
Because bees are scary?
Well, bees do scare me. I mean, those stingers scare me. Like, I mean, just thinking about it is like making me tight in the throat. See, now that's an issue. Maybe someone had a really bad experience in gaming. Like, just because I'm a girl and girls make honey or whatever doesn't mean I have to be a beekeeper. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And just because you're a boy, you don't have to like games either. There's tons of boys out there that don't want to play games.
Sure.
But there's no... Well, yeah, there are. Why can't I get my husband to play games with me? I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Um...
And I have noticed that in a lot of our gaming group gatherings, that there are more and more of an equal amount of the genders that seem to be involved.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good.
And you know what, too? Just being asked to play can go a long way.
Yeah. There you go. Nice.
Like I said, like way in my teen years.
Hmm.
Being refused to be able to play.
Yeah.
And not being included with
Yeah.
all my other friends to game day. You know, that can leave a sour taste in someone's mouth. But it didn't leave a sour taste in mine because I was interested anyway.
Yeah. So, a bunch of things you thought about women in gaming. Do you feel better?
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
But it brings up one very, very important question, and I'll just leave this all with you.
Okay.
Before we say sign off.
Yeah.
Why aren't there more men in quilting bees?
Right
So
on.
hopefully it wasn't too heavy or too waxy. It was pretty
Philosophical.
philosophical.
There you go.
Thanks.
No problem. Right on.
Awesome. Thanks for watching.
Thanks a lot.
We'll see you in the next video.
Laters. In what?
Quilting bees.
Oh. I have no idea.
That's a question for another time.
I don't have any interest in quilting. And that's okay.
It was supposed to be a joke.
I know.
Okay.